Well, Saudi Arabia is threatening to sell off nearly $1 trillion in U.S. assets if Congress passes a bill that allows their country to be held liable in the September 11th attacks. What's the story really about, and is this threat even real? This is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Well, Saudi Arabia has warned the Obama administration and members of Congress that it will sell off some $750 billion in U.S. Treasury bonds if Congress passes a bill that would allow Saudi officials to be held legally responsible for the 9/11 attacks. The Saudi foreign minister claims that the kingdom would be forced to sell up to $750 billion in those Treasury securities and other assets before the United States could freeze those assets in American courts. So what are the Saudis even concerned about? Well, it's actually one section of a report from the 9/11 report called the 28 pages. 28 pages that have been classified, and yet according to members of Congress in both parties and the heads of the 9/11 Commission, those 28 pages, if released to the public, will completely change everything you think you know about the 9/11 attacks. In one of those redacted sections of the 28 pages are the transfer of some $130,000 from then Saudi Ambassador Prince Bandar's family checking account to one of the hijackers' Saudi handlers in San Diego. Also, members of the Saudi royal family living in Florida reportedly provided financial assistance to several of the 9/11 hijackers and then fled the country only days before the attacks. In fact, they left everything behind in their Florida home, including all of their clothing. In addition, the FBI evacuated dozens of Saudi officials from multiple cities, including at least one Osama bin Laden family member on the terror watch list. Instead of interrogating the Saudis, FBI agents acted as security escorts for them, even though it was known at the time that 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi citizens. So what would exactly this legislation do? Well, according to the New York Times, the Senate bill is intended to make clear that the immunity given to foreign nations under the law should not apply in cases where nations are found culpable for terrorist attacks that kill Americans on United States soil. If the bill were to pass both houses of Congress and be signed by the president, it could clear a path for the role of the Saudi government to be examined in the September 11th lawsuits. Well, so far, the Obama administration has been lobbying to block the passage of this law, including warning that its passage would threaten the lives of Americans overseas. But the truth? In the last 2 decades, millions of Americans have come to realize that the American relationship with Saudi Arabia is beyond troubling. So what you need to know is that the Saudis are panicking. But could they really sell off $750 billion in U.S. assets? Honestly, that's not very likely. Could they really harm the U.S. economy? Yes, they absolutely could. And do the Saudis protect the U.S. dollar in OPEC as the currency that all oil was bought and sold in? It's called the petrodollar. That's also absolutely true. Changing that could collapse much of our economy. But the bottom line here, for too long, the United States has been in a relationship with the Saudis that is beyond troubling. And the facts here, this relationship as it stands will eventually have to end. Because threatening to harm or trying to destroy our economy, if we pass a bill, well, wouldn't that be called terrorism if the group making that threat were any other Arab nation than Saudi Arabia? That's Reality Check. Let's talk about that tonight on Twitter.